Good morning again, Dr. Greger. Welcome to the 60 community. It is wonderful to see you here and to have this time with you. We greatly appreciate the time that you've given us. We have questions. We have so much curiosity. We've read How Not to Die and How Not to Die in our book club. We're currently reading How Not to Age in our book club. And
Excellent.
yeah, it really is. And you have just transformed our lives in such profound ways, sir. And we are all so very, very grateful to you and all the work that you do for all of us in our health.
Happy to
So,
help. Oh my God, Danielle is on her treadmill. I love it. I
Dan-
love it. I mean, I'm
Danielle,
on my treadmill now, but I have it stationary. I don't want to make people seasick, but I tell you, she's doing it right.
I'm with you. I'm on my treadmill, but it's stationary because for the same reason. But Danielle is walking. Also,
That's right. We love it.
Christina's also walking, sir. And
Well, where's Christina? Hold on. I gotta see
yeah,
Christina. Maybe
scroll
she's
through
on the
the
second
little.
page.
There you go.
Oh, good one. Excellent. Keep up the
Right?
good work.
Yeah, that's what we love. And it's you, man. You got us going with it. We got our treadmills and now we get together and walk. It's absolutely fantastic, sir. Thank you for that. So, shall we kick it off? Because I know we have 30 minutes with you, and I just want to make sure we have so many questions. Sir, in your video, if we could start there, we all watched the trailer last night together. We had a movie with Movement Party. It was fantastic. And in the video, you shared really interesting studies about the powers of certain berries, particularly strawberries. Was one thing that I really kind of tweaked on because I love strawberries. And I just wonder, sir, can we get the same benefits from the whole fruit? I know the studies are on the powders, but can we eat the fruit instead and still
Oh
get
yeah,
that?
no. So the only reason that they used powdered berries in these studies is so they could do placebo-controlled trials, right? You think how, I mean, in drug trials, right? This is really kind of the gold standard, this randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial. In drug trials, it's very easy. You give people the actual drug versus a pill that looks, a sugar pill looking exactly like the drug. And so you don't know who's in which group until you break the code at the end and you find out to eliminate the placebo effect. But of course, how do you make a placebo strawberry, right? People tend to notice what's going into their mouth. But you can actually make a placebo strawberry. You freeze dry strawberries into a strawberry powder versus a fake strawberry flavored and colored placebo powder. And they do these tests and people can't tell the difference. I mean, I'm amazed that you really couldn't tell the difference between like fake strawberry powder, but I guess the technology is good enough to actually make a fake strawberry powder that you really don't know. Wait a second, is that real strawberries or not real strawberries? Who knows? And so then you can eliminate the placebo effect and see if actually strawberries help or not. And you can do these, and you see these remarkable benefits. But of course, that's just part of the study protocol to hide the fact, to secretly slip people some real strawberries. But in real life, you should eat strawberries in whichever way you like strawberries, or whichever way is convenient for you to eat strawberries. You can get freeze-dried strawberries, actual the whole strawberries, or chopped strawberries, or freeze-dried strawberry powder, or you can get fresh strawberries, particularly at some times of the year, or you can get frozen strawberries year-round. And so I encourage people to eat any kind of strawberries they can get into their diet on a daily basis.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great news. And that is one of our all-time favorites. When giving advice of how much to eat and how to eat it, that comes from you. Any way you can, any way you like it.
Oh, exactly. I love it. Great advice.
Fantastic. So now I want to ask you a question from Danielle, who is on her treadmill, as you notice.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
I know, me too. I want to get moving. So this one, she's in the book club, and this is from chapter 1 on AMPK. And there are the section on barberries and berberine specifically. We found a little confusion in one of the sentences, sir. It was in the paragraph that began discussing pregnancy and lactation and the effects of those. And the last sentence reads as follows. Whereas compounds like berberine and metformin are thought to just impair our mitochondrial function, making energy less efficient. Is that for pregnant and lactating women, Or shall we all take that advice and limit our levels of berberine in our diet?
No. So this is describing the mechanism by which barberries are anti-aging foods. Is that they actually impair our ability to make energy, kind of these mild mitochondrial poisons. And because we don't make energy as well, it ramps up this fuel indicator AMPK, this anti-aging enzyme, which is one of the most important biomedical breakthroughs in the last few centuries. So we can activate a low energy sensor by exercising, right? That takes energy, depletes our energy, activates AMPK, or we can eat less food, we can calorically restrict, that activates AMPK, but there are some foods that can boost it, and so the AMPK activation compound in barberry works by kind of impairing our ability to create energy, thereby kind of offering a calorie restriction mimetic or exercise mimetic, meaning it's kind of it mimics the effects of exercise or calorie restriction without actually having to walk around hungry all the time. The concern, though, and this is largely from laboratory animal studies, is that barberine, as a mild mitochondrial poison, should not be taken during pregnancy and breastfeeding because of developing infant and embryo, particularly sensitive to any kind of toxins. But for us, but for everybody else, barberry should have this beneficial effect of acting as an exercise or a calorie restriction mimetic.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that clarification, sir. That will help us, and I'm sure next Tuesday at book club, we'll all be glad to be able to share that with those. So let's talk greens, all right? Just a little bit
Oh,
about,
yeah, my
yeah,
favorite topic.
right? Mine too. So a lot of your studies in the book are that you share with us, and thank you for the citations, by the way, brilliant. Having those hyperlinks, that is so useful for us. Back to the greens, a lot of those studies are about cooked greens, and I just wonder, I do like my greens cooked, we all kind of do, but we also like them raw. Are we going to see some of those same beneficial effects in raw greens or similar effects?
No, absolutely.
I,
You can get all the benefits and potentially more, depending. And so there are benefits of eating both raw and cooked greens. Basically, again, whichever kind of greens you stuff in your face, the better. However, you should eat your greens however you like your greens, so you eat more of them. So there are some compounds in greens that are that are heat sensitive, and so microwaving your greens or lightly steaming your greens can reduce the folate, for example, or vitamin C by about 15%. And so you're actually getting less nutrition in that way because they're cooked. However, it makes the carotenoids, like the luteins, the zeaxanthin, important for vision, and many of these other important carotenoid nutrients, it's actually more bioavailable. You actually get more in your bloodstream eating cooked spinach than eating raw spinach, for example. And so eating a combination would be great, but basically, however you get them in your face, the better.
that,
The only difference is the dosing would be different. So
oh,
3/4 of a cup of spinach, of cooked spinach, so talking about how these remarkable benefits in terms of improving muscle mass and muscle strength and physical performance, just eating, 3/4 of a cup of spinach every day. But that's cooked spinach. Of course, that anyone who's made greens realizes, boy, do they cook down, right? And so, you know how much spinach, 3/4 of a cup of cooked spinach is? That's a massive amount of spinach, right? And so you'd have to eat that much spinach. Well, look, so you could have a huge spinach salad. Fantastic, right? But it's not like you can eat 3/4 of a cup of raw spinach leaves and think, oh, I'm going to get the benefits of 3/4 of a cup of cooked spinach.
all right, fantastic. So great. Mix of raw, mix of cooked, eat them a lot, eat them all the time, and get them in your face, right?
Every day, every day.
Ah, fantastic, fantastic. Dr. Gregor, another member of our community, Donna, has a question. She says, she's asking, I was wondering, since research is now showing that matcha tea may no longer be beneficial to treat Alzheimer's, is there
Yeah.
any advantage to drinking matcha tea over regular tea in a bag?
That's a fantastic question. Only theoretical benefits. So the studies have really been kind of disappointing, at least right for the dementia. But one would presume that you're just getting kind of all the tea compounds of green tea brew, plus all the compounds that are thrown away when you throw away the tea bag. And so I would still presume matcha would be the healthiest way to eat green tea, although we don't have good science to back that up. It's really just kind of a theoretical argument at this point. However, the one caveat would be that the lead in green tea is not extracted out by hot water extraction. So, unfortunately, the country of China only recently got rid of leaded gas, and so depending on where in the tea plantation the plant is grown next to the highway, you can have high levels of lead in the soil. That does not matter if you are just drinking brewed tea, because no matter how much lead is in the leaves of that tea, you dunk it in hot water, throw away the tea bag, the lead doesn't actually make it into your tea. However, if you open that tea bag and dump it into your smoothie, or use bulk green tea, throw it in your smoothie, or you're eating matcha tea where you're actually eating the green tea leaves themselves, we want to source our tea from low lead areas. So if you're just drinking brewed tea, you can drink tea grown in China. If you're actually eating your tea like matcha tea, I would get Japanese sourced green tea where they don't have similar problems with lead.
Wonderful. Thank you. Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Greger. I don't know much about green tea, and I'm amazed there's so much to know about it, actually.
Oh,
So,
that's just scratching the surface. We could do a whole
oh,
hour on green tea easy.
all right. Well, we'll work that out. All right. We'll talk about that. Deborah from our community asks about the video that we watched last night. You provided the calculation for protein, 1.3 grams per kilo of body weight.
No, where'd you get that from?
From the video last night, we took some notes on calculating how much protein we need, how many grams a day.
0.8 grams.
0.8 grams per kilo.
So I think you might be quoting what the American public gets, which is 1.3. But that's too much protein. We want to reduce protein down to recommended levels, so it's 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram body weight up till age 65, then bumping it up to 1.0. But regardless of age, the typical American gets way too much at 1.3.
So 1.0 over 65. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful correction. We did the calculations and it was an astronomical amount of protein and it terrified me. So I really wanted to ask you about that today. I'm so glad that we did.
So that comes out to be 0.36 grams per healthy pound of body weight under 65, and 0.45 grams per pound of body weight, ideal body weight over 65. And this is ideal body weight. So it's not how much you weigh, but it's how much you weigh if you were ideal body weight.
Ideal body. This is wonderful. Thank you so much. Wonderful. We get
and
that.
You can calculate that based on your height.
And you calculate your ideal body weight based on your height. All right. Correct. So we calculate that and then we take. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Greger. That's wonderful. That is going to help so many people. Wes Erickson would like to know, and he starts his question with a lovely toot toot. Toot toot, garbanzo beans and cashews give me gas. Does gas tell us something about the status of our microbiome? Does it tell us to avoid these foods, or does it tell us to eat more and it will improve? He's trying to eat more, but it's not getting better.
So gas is the consequence of the microbial metabolism. And so we want, I mean, so in one sense, the production of gas is showing that it's working, right? So when you're fermenting something, how do you know if it's working? You see little bubbles, right? You're fermenting beer. How does it work? You see bubbles. You're fermenting sauerkraut, fermenting anything. The formation of little bubbles means, right? Yeast fermentation of bread, bubbles. That means the formation of gas means that the that fermentation is working. And that's what we want, is the carbohydrate fermentation in our lower intestine, including non-digestible carbohydrates like dietary fiber and resistant starch. And so, but so if someone goes from slathering their guts with cheeseburgers and milkshakes their whole lives to all of a sudden eating a really healthy diet, getting even a fraction of the dietary fiber that we're kind of designed by evolution to get, you can get this dramatic increase, not everybody, but dramatic increase in gas production. And so people are like, oh my God, I can't do this really healthy diet, and back off. But of course, that's actually showing its worth. That's actually good. We are fostering the growth of fiber-eating bacteria. And we just have to, so what happens is you're like, oh my God, do I have to have gas the rest of my life? No, what happens is that the gas-consuming bacteria actually consume the gas. So you produce fiber feeder produces methane, and so then that fosters the growth. You eat a lot of fiber, and then you foster the growth of fiber-eating bacteria that may produce methane, for example. And so then the methane fosters the growth of methane-eating bacteria. And it's this whole ecosystem down there, but it takes weeks. But eventually all the gas eating consuming bacteria balance out the gas production of bacteria, and so the gas goes away. But you just have to wait for that period. You can start low, go slow, and even a teaspoon of chickpeas a day, slowly ramp up whatever it takes, because you need to feed your good microbiome. But there's this transition that may take place. If you have a disruption to your microbiome with antibiotic use or whatever, we may have to start this whole process over. But eventually, we're going to end up in that. The goal is to end up in that best of both worlds, where you don't have problems with bloating or gas, and you're eating massive quantities of dietary fiber resistant starch, these prebiotics that feed our good gut bugs.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. All right. Slow and low, slow and steady. Fantastic. Dr. Greg, in your book, you share that when starches are cooked and then cooled, they can crystallize into what we call resilient starches, or what you call resilient starches, and that they're resilient to be broken down into the sugars. I have a question. Does adding apple cider vinegar to cook starches diminish the glycemic load of those cooked starches, those wet
Absolutely.
starches?
Yeah, that's one of the ways to decrease the glycemic spike. You'll find that in my glycation chapter of How Not to Age. There's a whole bunch of ways that we can slow the digestion. And one way is that retrograde starch crystallization. Another way is to add acetic acid, which is what vinegar is, a dilute solution of acetic acid. So that's why, for example, sourdough bread is digested slower than regular bread. That's why cultures around the world add, sushi rice. They add vinegar to rice, or they're adding balsamic vinegar to bread in the Mediterranean. Or these are all ways to reduce the glycemic impact of eating processed grain products.
Wonderful. Here in Greece, we like red wine vinegar. Will that have the same effect?
Oh, absolutely. Any vinegar, even that nasty distilled white vinegar you use to like scrub your bathtub or something with, it's acetic acid. Now, eating something like red wine vinegar or balsamic vinegar or apple cider vinegar, you actually get a few apple phytonutrients or grape phytonutrients along with your acetic acid, which would presume to only be good for you. But the important thing is that it's vinegar. And by definition, all vinegar is a dilute solution of acetic acid in water.
All right. Thank you very much. Nancy Webb would like to know, what percentage, if any, do you think a newly diagnosed Parkinson's patient can expect to improve or mitigate conditions by adhering to a whole food plant diet?
Oh, fantastic question. Parkinson's is one of our leading causes of death. I have a chapter in How Not to Die. I have a bunch of videos about both preventing Parkinson's and treating Parkinson's with diet and different tweaks in your diet, like protein redistribution, etc. And the answer to the question, well, wait a second, how good am I going to feel? How reduced are my symptoms going to be if I eat healthy? Well, guess what? There's only one way to know out. There's one way to know, and that's to put it to the test by eating healthier and finding out how much it works for you. And so it's different for every person, and you don't know how good you're going to feel till you give it a try.
Fantastic. Put it to the test. Always, sir. Excellent. In our community, osteoporosis is a major concern for many of us, especially postmenopausal women like myself. And we know from the book that falling breaks bones. We
That's right.
understand that it's the muscle and balance deterioration with age that causes those falls. However, you also shared in your video a most gruesome photo of a broken femur that broke just by standing. So the question still stands, osteoporosis can have an impact. And that said, do you recommend DEXA scans due to their dangerous X-ray exposure? And are there other ways to assess levels of osteoporosis, osteopenia, or muscle degeneration that are less invasive and less toxic?
So that disturbing picture of someone whose femurs, thigh bone, biggest bone in your body, just snapping in half spontaneously from standing, that was because they were on the drug Fosamax, right? They were on these bisphosphonate anti-osteoporosis drugs. Ironically, they're supposed to protect your bones, but in as many as 1 in 300 users actually causes bone fractures, these so-called atypical femoral fractures. Why are they atypical? Because they occur not after trauma or a fall, which is how most bones break, but rather just twisting at the waist, walking, or standing still. And so that's a side effect of the drug, not something that would happen normally if one were not on those drugs. So that's 85% of age-related bone fracture risk has nothing to do with bone mineral density. It has to do with fall risk. And so that's all about impaired balance, lower limb, a decline in lower limb muscle strength as we age. So that's great news because we have these 7 randomized controlled trials showing there's something we can do about it by strength and balance training, lower limb strength and balance training. So that's the most important thing, but that's just 85%. 15% has to do with bone mineral density, the strength of your bones. So that's not the most important thing. It's actually just a very small percentage. But look, having a serious bone fracture like a hip fracture can be so devastating. We want to do everything possible to maintain our bone strength. And so how do we do that? We don't take stomach acid blocking drugs like Prevacid and Prilosec. We don't smoke tobacco or heavy cannabis use. We don't coffee consumption can decrease bone mineral density. We want to make sure we're getting sufficient calcium, vitamin D. Certain foods have bone protective effects, which I talk about. Staying away from alcohol, staying away from soda can increase osteoporotic fracture risk. Soy phytoestrogens, eating whole soy foods, can have that pro-estrogenic effect of strengthening one's bones. Weight-bearing exercises can improve bone strength. But how do you know how strong your bones are? That's what the DEXA scan is for. I don't recommend getting any test if it's actually not going to change your management of the disease. So let's say you found out that you had really weak bones. What would you do? You would take good care of yourself and you'd prevent falls and you'd strengthen your bones and you'd exercise and you'd eat well. What if you found out that you had super duper great bone strength? What would you do? You prevent falls and you'd eat really healthy, blah, blah, blah. So you wouldn't actually change what you do. However, for some people, test results can be motivating. Some people, are like, well, I'm not going to eat healthy and exercise if I have great bones, whatever. So, so getting a test and finding, oh my God, I have really bad bones. I really have to take care of myself. If you are of the personality, with getting a bad test result like that would give you motivation to take better care of yourself, then I'm all in favor. Similar to this coronary calcium scanning of one's heart. You're exposed to X-rays. But if me telling you that, oh my God, you have this evidence of plaque in your heart gets you to be like, oh my God, okay, fine, no more pepperoni pizza, blah, blah, blah. The risk of pepperoni pizza is worse than the risk of the X-rays. Because it's relatively low radiation risk. Same thing with DEXA scan, extremely low radiation risk. But why accept any risk at all? Well, the only time you'd put yourself at risk is if you would find a terrible result motivating. If it would not, then I would not get it. If you would, then I would get it, because maybe it'll motivate you to actually take better care of yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Garber. Thank you very much for that. Another question from a member in our community, Ali Erickson, would like to know about in vitro vitamins and if they have any benefits.
What is an in vitro vitamin?
She wrote, do in vitro vitamins have benefits versus oral supplements or a healthy whole food diet, specifically NAD plus coenzyme?
I have no idea what in vitro vitamin is. So in vitro
Yeah.
means like in a petri dish, in a test tube.
Yeah.
So
IV, I think, IV vitamin.
oh, intravenous.
Yes.
Yes, intravenous vitamins. Well, so I talk about studies on intravenous vitamin C, in a series of videos for cancer patients. If people are interested in that, they can check out my videos at nutritionfacts.org. I think that's the only circumstance in which I actually cover intravenous vitamin use.
Okay.
Trying to think. Yeah, I can't think of any other vitamin that I've seen given IV. So so the evidence base for other intravenous vitamins either doesn't exist or something that I've not covered. If anyone has really good evidence showing intravenous vitamins is good for you, it sounds like a scam to charge you for it. I mean, you could, instead of, how much can you charge somebody for a vitamin C pill? Nothing, right? They're dirt cheap, a few pennies a pill. How much can you charge people for intravenous vitamin C injection, which may end up putting the same amount of vitamin C in your bloodstream as eating an orange or something? I mean, you could charge hundreds of dollars to get someone to come in. You have to have a doctor or a nurse or someone with medical training to put the needle in your arm. It's an infection risk. Oh my God, you could charge hundreds of dollars. So what are you going to do if you are someone that wants a BMW? Someone wants to send your kids to a really fancy college. You give people intravenous vitamins. You don't tell people to eat an orange. That would be stupid.
Indeed, sir. Indeed. I must agree with that. Quickly, Allie would also like to know, and I think this is where I mixed up the IV thing. Totally my mistake. Sorry about that. But she'd also like to know, do you know of any oocyte quality boosters that are beneficial to women over 40, or recommendations to boost fertility or production of oocytes?
Oh, yeah, fascinating. Yeah, so improving kind of late life fertility. So I do have a section on that in the book. And that's in the preserving your hormones section. But I think there's a couple things. A couple things I recommend. The most important thing is eliminating dairy consumption. So dairy appears to accelerate the aging of one's ovaries, probably due to the galactose. That's how you actually mimic, in experimental laboratory animals, mimic the effects of aging on female fertility. So actually give them the milk sugar lactose, it breaks down to galactose, and you can artificially accelerate aging. And so that is the presumption of the presumptive mechanism of why dairy consumption is associated with such accelerated aging. In terms of one's ovarian reserve, that was a Harvard study. So I talk about that. Beyond that, I forget, you won't have to check that chapter to say, I remember that's the kind of the primary thing. But if you're already like, well, wait a second, I don't do dairy, what else can I do to improve my fertility? You can type in fertility into nutritionfacts.org, pull up all those videos. And I think there's actually more in that preserving your hormones chapter about fertility, but it's just, not something top of mind.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I know we're very close. Do we have time for one more question, sir?
Well, if I can answer it in less than 60 seconds, yes.
All right. Glaucoma, another concern in our community. Is there any guidance you can give those who are trying to prevent or reverse glaucoma, sir?
Absolutely. So I talk about preventing, arresting, reversing all of the 4 leading causes of blindness in this country, which is cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy. And they all have good news. And probably the thing that affects most of them is greens. Dark green leafy vegetables have these macular pigments. Saffron may also help. So greens can help prevent glaucoma as well as regular exercise. Black, in terms of what can you do if you actually have glaucoma, black currants, ginkgo biloba, and nicotinamide, also known as niacinamide, can slow the accumulation of visual deficits in glaucoma.
Thank
Look
you
at
very
that. I nailed it.
You did. Thank you for your time. We really, really appreciate everything you do for us, sir. Good luck with everything that's to come. And indeed, we do love and admire you so very, very much. Thank you.
All look, you're the ones who are doing all the work, right? I just put out information there. So keep up the great work, and happy to be back anytime.
We love
We
you.
love
Love you,
you.
Dr.
Dr.
Greger.
Grieger.
Thank you very
We
much.
love
Thank
you.
you.